The pregnancy test hit the counter in my kitchen with a sharp plastic snap that echoed like a gunshot in my head. 2 pink lines glared up at me, like they were daring me to say something. My wife, Monica, pressed her shaking hands to her face, acting stunned. "I can't believe this," she murmured, eyes already glistening with tears. "Jake, I'm so sorry. We said we'd wait a bit longer, but I guess the pill didn't work." I picked up the test, staring at those 2 lines like they were a puzzle I couldn't solve. A knot of doubt tightened in my gut, the same kind I get when a balance sheet doesn't add up at work. Something about this felt off, like a ledger with hidden entries. "How long have you known about this?" I asked, keeping my voice low and steady. "Just found out this morning," she said, stepping closer, her hand grazing my arm. "I was late, and I just had a hunch." Her touch was soft, pleading. "I know we didn't plan for this, but maybe it's fate. Maybe we're ready to take this leap." Ready? Like a baby was just picking a weekend getaway. I set the test down, watching her closely. Monica was stunning, the kind of beauty that turns heads, dark hair streaked with highlights that cost more than my first car, lips always shimmering with gloss, every outfit curated like she's walking a runway. Her whole life was about being seen, admired, coveted. Now, it seemed, she wanted something more solid than social media clout. "What's on your mind, Jake?" she asked, her voice catching with a vulnerability that almost felt real. "Almost. I'm thinking we've got to do this right," I said, measuring my words. Her face lit up like a 4th of July sparkler. "You're not mad?" she asked, hopeful. "Mad?" I pulled her close, feeling her melt into me. "Monica, if we're having a kid, we're making this official. Let's get married." "Oh my gosh, yes." She pulled back, eyes sparkling with tears that might have been genuine. "But what'll people say?" "The timing's tricky." "Let them talk," I said, shrugging. "We know what's real." The irony wasn't lost on me. "We could do a small wedding soon, before your showing." "How soon?" Her voice had an edge, eager, confirming what I'd already been mulling over. 6 weeks, maybe 8, I said. "Enough time to plan something simple." She kissed me then, fierce and urgent, like she was signing a contract. Which, I suppose, she was. That night, as Monica slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling, running numbers in my head. The timing was too perfect. The ripped corner of her birth control pack I'd spotted last month. Her sudden curiosity about my investment accounts. The way she'd been nudging for a ring ever since her influencer gig started drying up. She thought she was outsmarting me, playing some high-stakes game while I was stuck on the sidelines. She didn't know I'd been tracking her moves for months, learning the rules she thought she owned. I grabbed my phone and texted my cousin, Travis. "I need to talk. Big stuff. Tomorrow." The real game was about to start. The next morning, Travis met me at a diner on Jefferson Avenue in Springfield, Missouri, the kind of spot where overworked nurses grab coffee between double shifts. He looked beat, still in rumpled scrubs, but his eyes locked in when I laid out the situation. "You think she's pulling one over on you?" he asked, stirring creamer into his coffee. "Call it a gut feeling," I said, sliding my phone across the table. "Check her recent posts. 3 weeks back, she's all about finding herself. 2 weeks ago, she hinted at big changes. Then, bam, pregnant." I showed him the timeline on her socials. Travis squinted at the screen. "That's thin evidence, Jake. Could be a coincidence." "You've got access to medical records," I said, leaning in. "I'm not asking you to break rules. Just help me figure out what's real. If she's pregnant, I'll step up, marry her, be the best dad I can. But if she's lying?" He paused, sipping his coffee. "What happens then?" "She learns actions have consequences," I said. "Public ones." Travis nodded slowly. "I'll poke around, discreetly." That afternoon, Monica hauled me to jewelry stores in downtown Springfield. She tried on rings with the precision of a watchmaker, snapping photos from every angle. Shoppers gawked as she posed like it was a magazine shoot. "This one's the one," she declared, slipping a 3-carat sparkler onto her finger. The price tag made my accountant's heart flinch, but I grinned. "Whatever makes you happy, babe." "It's pricey," she said, testing me. "Nothing's too much for my future wife," I replied, the words bitter on my tongue. The proposal went down that evening at her favorite upscale joint in Kansas City, where a steak costs more than a day's wages for most folks. I dropped to one knee during dessert, offering the ring while she filmed it all on her phone. Yes, yes, a million times yes, she squealed, loud enough for the whole place to hear. Diners clapped. She posted the video instantly, with hashtags about love and destiny. Within an hour, her engagement pics were racking up likes faster than anything she'd posted in months. Comments rolled in, congratulations, jealousy, the works. This was her prize, not me, but the spotlight, the story. We need an engagement party, she said as we walked to the car. Something classy, picture perfect. Whatever you want, I said. And we'll start planning the wedding ASAP. I found this venue, but they're booked up unless we move fast. How fast? She asked, eyeing me carefully. 6 weeks, 8 max, I said, feeding her the timeline. With the baby coming, it makes sense. Perfect, she said, smiling. She was walking right into it. That night, my phone buzzed with a text from Travis. Dug up something. Medical form from 3 months back. No pregnancy then, no sign of trying. I deleted the message and grinned in the dark. Monica shifted in bed, her hand drifting to her flat stomach, still playing the part even in her sleep. The trap was set. All I had to do was wait for her to step in it. A prenup? Monica's voice hit a high note as we sat in my lawyer's office in downtown Kansas City, surrounded by polished wood and leather that screamed wealth. Jake, that's so cold. Don't you trust me? My family's lawyer, Walter Grayson, had been handling our legal matters for years. At my request, he drafted a very particular document. It's not about trust, Monica, I said, taking her hand gently. It's about being smart. My old man used to say, clear boundaries make strong partnerships. But we're getting married, Jake, not signing a lease, she replied, giving me that hurt look that usually made me cave. This feels like your betting will crash and burn. Walter cut in, calm as ever. Prenups can actually solidify a marriage. When money matters are laid out up front, couples bicker less down the road. Monica squirmed in her seat. What's in it, exactly, she asked, her voice tight. Just standard stuff, I said, keeping my tone smooth. What I own before we tie the knot stays mine, but anything we build together gets split fair and square. She eased up a bit. Oh, that doesn't sound too bad. There are a few extra clauses, Walter added, sliding the papers across his desk. Provisions for infidelity, abandonment, and fraud. His voice stayed even, but I caught the slight stress on fraud. Fraud? Monica's laugh came out forced, like she was trying too hard. What kind of fraud happens in a marriage? Things like hiding debts, fudging assets, or lying about income, Walter explained, his tone professional but pointed. It's just routine language. Really? Monica flipped through the document, her eyes darting over the pages. Was she skimming too fast? This is a lot of legalese. Can I take it home to go over it properly? Take all the time you need, I said, smiling. What she didn't know was that Walter had embedded invisible watermark tech in the paper, undetectable without a UV light. Any tampering would show up clear as day. She also didn't know about the duplicate copy stashed in his safe or the encrypted digital backups. 3 days later, Monica handed back the signed papers with a dazzling smile. I tweaked a couple things, she said, casually as if she'd edited a grocery list. Just some confusing wording. Oh yeah? Like what? I asked, keeping my voice light. Nothing big, she said, her eyes flicking away. Just clarified some stuff about separate property. You'll want your lawyer to take a look, I told her. That afternoon, Walter called. She changed Section 12, he said. The fraud clause. She cut out the part about misrepresentation being grounds for immediate divorce and loss of shared assets. Curious move. Very curious, I said. Should we fix it? No need, Walter replied. Let it stand, but I've got the original locked down, plus photos of her changes under UV light. That night, Monica was extra sweet, curling up against me on the couch like a contented kitten. She'd been posting non-stop about wedding plans, hyping up her followers. Her socials were flooded with comments, congratulations mixed with barely hidden jealousy from folks who'd watched her climb into this picture-perfect engagement. I've been thinking about our honeymoon, she said, tracing circles on my shirt. Somewhere dreamy, like Italy, maybe Amalfi. Sounds amazing, I said, kissing her forehead. We'll need to book soon to get the good spots. Already done, she said, tilting her face up to mine. I found this incredible resort, cliffside villas, private coves, couples massages. It's pricey, but you said money's no object. It's not, I said, though every word stung. She was already spending cash she assumed was hers, weaving herself deeper into her own trap. Every plan, every dollar she counted on, was another knot in the net she didn't see. My phone pinged with a text from Travis. Got the records. Meet tomorrow? I was ready to hear what he'd dug up, but deep down, I already knew. The question wasn't if Monica was playing me, it was how deep the lie went and how long she'd been at it. That would decide just how public her wake-up call would be. The next day, I met Kelly Harper at a Greasy Spoon diner in downtown Lexington, Kentucky. She didn't look anything like the glammed-up girl from Monica's old social media posts. No more sparkly dresses or club selfies. Kelly sat across from me in a plain hoodie and jeans, her chestnut hair tied back in a messy bun, looking worn but resolute. Thanks for meeting me, she said, stirring her coffee with a nervous twitch. I wasn't sure you'd want to hear this. I'm all ears, I said, leaning back. Monica and I were tight for 3 years, she started. College roommates, then we moved to the city together. Shared everything, clothes, gossip, big plans. Her laugh was sharp, bitter. Or so I thought. What changed? I asked, keeping my tone neutral. She did, Kelly said. Once her follower count took off and brands started calling, she turned cold, calculating. Everything was about her image, her brand, the story she was selling. I nodded, letting her keep going. She started picking guys based on their social media vibe, Kelly continued, pulling out her phone. How they'd look in her posts, where they could take her, what kind of life they could project. 6 months ago, she showed me your picture, said you were her golden ticket. My gut clenched, but I kept my face blank. Go on. She studied you like a science project, Kelly said. Your job, your income, your family history. She even scoped out your regular coffee spot in Lexington so she could accidentally run into you. The memory hit me, Monica knocking over her latte on my laptop at Brewer's Cafe, apologizing like crazy while wiping it down. How she'd been so grateful when I brushed it off and offered to buy her a new drink. She planned it all? I asked. Every second, Kelly said, her eyes hard. Kelly's voice was cold, matter-of-fact. Monica even picked that dress because she noticed you eyeing a woman in a similar shade the week before. She called it tactical charm. Why spill this to me now? I asked, keeping my tone steady as we sat in the Lexington diner. When I questioned her about the pregnancy, she ghosted me, Kelly said, her jaw tight. Called me bitter, said I was trying to ruin her perfect life. She pulled up a string of texts on her phone and slid it over. But before she cut me off, she let some stuff slip. I read the exchange, dated 2 months back. Kelly, Monica, he's dragging his feet on the proposal. Maybe he's not ready. Monica, then I'll get him ready. Kelly, what's that supposed to mean? Monica, a little insurance plan. Guys like him jump at duty. Kelly, that sounds shady, Monica. Monica, it's smart. Positive or negative, he'll buy it. Kelly, you can't fake a pregnancy. Monica, bet I can. I scanned the words again, my chest tightening like a vice. She'd laid it all out. There's more, Kelly said, scrolling to another chat. She rehearsed her big moment. Asked me which tears looked better, shocked or grateful. Her eyes locked on mine. One night, after too many drinks, she sent me voice memos of her practicing her speech. Called you predictable but wealthy. Said you're the type who'd do the right thing, even if it wrecked you. You got those recordings? I asked. Send them already, she said. Check your email. She paused, then leaned forward. There's more. It's not just the pregnancy. She's been faking her whole life, her follower numbers, her brand deals, even her family's wealth. What do you mean? I pressed. Her parents cut her off 6 months ago, Kelly said. Caught her using their credit cards without permission. That whole rich girl vibe? It's a lie. She's been racking up debt and taking cash advances to keep up appearances. It all snapped into place. The rush to lock in a marriage, her obsession with expensive stuff, the push for joint accounts. Why tell me? I asked. Because I've seen her torch people, Kelly said, her voice hard. Her last boyfriend? When he dumped her, she spread lies about him being a creep. Almost cost him his career. Someone's gotta stop her before she wrecks more lives. What do you want out of this? I asked. Justice, she said, a glint in her eye. And maybe I want to see her face when she realizes not everyone's as gullible as she thinks. That night, in my home office in Springfield, Missouri, I played Monica's voice memos. Her real voice, raw and unfiltered, mocked me like I was just a pawn in her scheme, chuckling about how easy it is to play good guys who want to see the best in people. The recordings were a goldmine, and they were perfect. Upstairs, I could hear Monica on a video call, probably with another influencer, gushing about wedding dresses and honeymoon outfits, planning a life funded by money she thought was in the bag. I opened a new file on my laptop and started typing. If Monica wanted to play games, I'd deal her into one she couldn't win. She wasn't holding the cards anymore. Dr. Margaret Ellis had been our family doctor for over a decade. When I laid out what I needed, her calm professionalism wavered for a second. You're asking me to check someone who doesn't know they're being checked, she said, her voice cautious. I'm asking you to confirm something that'll shape my future, I said, leaning forward in her office in Kansas City. If she's pregnant, I need to know for health reasons. If she's not, I need to know for other reasons. Dr. Ellis tapped her pen on her desk. I can't examine anyone without their consent. It's unethical. What if she agrees to it? I said. What if I pitch it as a routine checkup? A pre-wedding health screening, maybe talk about prenatal care. She studied me for a long moment. That's unconventional but not wrong, as long as she signs off on standard consent forms. You said she's been tired lately, mentioning morning sickness? Yeah, I said, the lie rolling out easily. Maybe you could run tests to rule out other issues. I can do that, she said. 2 days later, I convinced Monica to see Dr. Ellis. Just a quick checkup, I told her. With the wedding and a baby coming, we should both make sure we're in good shape. She agreed without hesitation, even seemed touched by my concern. You're gonna be such a great dad, Jake, she said, kissing my cheek. The appointment was set for Thursday afternoon. Dr. Ellis would run routine blood work, including an HCG test to confirm or deny a pregnancy, plus a physical exam to check for any signs of conception. While I waited for those results, I had other moves to make. The wedding venue was locked in Cedar Grove Hall, a sprawling estate in Wichita, Kansas, with manicured gardens and a ballroom for 200. We'd started with a guest list of 50, but I'd nudged Monica to go bigger. It's a once-in-a-lifetime thing, I told her. Let's share it with everyone who matters. What I didn't mention was that everyone now included a few journalists I'd reached out to through work contacts, 3 videographers who thought they were filming a high-end wedding for social media, and a sound system that could carry audio to every corner of the place. I'd also hired a private investigator, Victor Hayes. He was sharp, discreet, and didn't come cheap. He'd already backed up Kelly's claims about Monica's finances and dug up more dirt. Monica was drowning in $40,000 of credit card debt, had been kicked out of 2 apartments, and her brand deals were mostly free swag for posts, not real cash. Her whole online persona was a house of cards. The pregnancy lie isn't just a con, Victor told me. It's her last shot before it all falls apart. Friday morning, Dr. Ellis called with the results. Her tone was steady, but I caught a hint of surprise. The blood work came back negative for pregnancy, she said. No HCG levels indicating conception in the last 3 months. The physical exam showed no signs either, no breast tenderness, no cervical changes, no uterine growth. You're sure? I asked. Absolutely, she said. Dr. Ellis paused on the phone. Jake, if Monica's saying she's pregnant, she's not telling the truth. Thanks, Margaret, I said, staring out my office window at the bustling streets of Wichita, Kansas. Folks down below were hustling through their lives, most of them probably honest, just trying to do right by their loved ones. But some, like Monica, saw people as stepping stones to get what they wanted. I'm gonna make sure she gets what's coming to her. That night at dinner, Monica was quieter than usual, poking at her plate like the food had offended her. You okay? I asked, keeping my tone light. Just worn out, she said, avoiding my eyes. The wedding planning's a lot. We can push it back if it's too much, I offered. No. Her voice snapped, sharp with a hint of desperation. I mean, we should stick to the plan. For the baby. Her hand drifted to her stomach, a move I'd caught her rehearsing in the bathroom mirror. Even alone with me, she kept up the act. Dr. Ellis said you checked out fine, I said casually. Yeah, everything's good, she replied, smooth as silk. She just wants to keep an eye on things. Another lie, tossed out like it was nothing. Good to know, I said. Gotta make sure you and the baby are healthy. We are, she said with a smile that didn't touch her eyes. No need to worry. Later that night, I locked in the final pieces of my plan. The venue, the guest list, the tech, the evidence, everything was ready. In 3 weeks, Monica would get her dream wedding day. She just wouldn't be the one walking away as my wife. These photos gotta go, Monica said the next day, scrolling through my social media like she was auditing my taxes. This one with your old girlfriend. This group pic from college with that chick all over you. This whole album from your buddy's birthday bash. She'd been at it for an hour, wiping out any trace of other women from my online past. Posts I hadn't thought about in years were marked for deletion. Comments from female friends were screenshot for later talks. Some of those are just friends, I said, keeping my voice calm. Friends who want more than that, she shot back, holding up her phone to show a photo from 3 years ago. Look at her eyes, Jake. And where her hand's sitting. Come on. The woman was my college pal, Natalie, who'd been married with kids for years. Explaining that would just spark more accusations, so I shrugged and hit delete. There, I said. Happy now? Much better, she said, snuggling up to me, suddenly all warm and sweet. I know I'm being clingy, but I love you so much. I just want the world to know you're mine. Mine. Like I was a shiny new car she'd leased and needed to guard. Speaking of that, she went on, we need to upgrade your style. That navy suit you wear to meetings screams boring. And those loafers? She scrunched her nose. They scream number cruncher. I'm literally a number cruncher, I said. You're a financial consultant, she corrected, pulling out her tablet, already open to high-end fashion sites. I found some killer pieces that'll look amazing on you. Designer stuff, but worth it. We can swing it now. There it was again, spending our imaginary joint money. Over the next few days, she overhauled my look. New suits, new shoes, even a cologne that cost more than my rent back in the day. She dragged me to a salon in downtown Wichita that charged an arm and a leg for a haircut. The old Jake, the one who existed before Monica, was being scrubbed out. In his place was a polished, pricey version, tailored to match her Instagram aesthetic. But while she obsessed over my appearance, I was working on something bigger. 3 days earlier, I'd sent anonymous letters to her parents, typed notes hinting they might want to double-check their daughter's pregnancy claims. I included Dr. Ellis's clinic details and suggested a second opinion never hurt for future grandparents. That afternoon, Monica's dad, Gregory Tate, called her. I was in the next room, ear-tuned to her side of the call. Dad, that's insane, she said, her voice climbing. Why would someone send you that? Of course I'm pregnant. You think I'd make that up? A pause as he spoke. No, I don't need another test. Dr. Ellis already checked everything. Another pause, longer. Fine, if it'll make you happy, I'll get a second opinion. But this hurts, Dad. I can't believe you don't trust me. She hung up and started pacing, gnawing on her thumbnail, a nervous tic she usually hid. You good? I asked, stepping into the doorway. Someone sent my parents anonymous letters saying I'm not pregnant, she said, forcing a laugh. Can you believe how low people go? Who'd do something that mean? That's awful, I said, playing along. What did they say? Just garbage and rumors, she said, her eyes searching mine. Dad wants me to do another test to shut them up. You'll come with me, right? For support? Wouldn't miss it, I said. She hugged me tight, but I felt her tremble. The cracks were showing. Her lies were getting harder to juggle, but she wasn't ready to fold, she was doubling down. That night, she called her mom, putting the phone on speaker while she went through her skincare routine. I listened from the bedroom. Mom, this whole thing's stressing me out, she said. It's not good for the baby. We just want to be certain, honey, her mom, Patricia Tate, said through the speaker. Those letters mentioned specific details, dates, clinic visits, even test results. It's oddly precise. Monica's hand froze mid-moisturizer. I caught her reflection in the vanity mirror, her face shifting from puzzled to worried to something close to fear. "That's impossible," she said. "How would some random person know my medical stuff?" "We're wondering the same thing," Patricia said. "That's why we think another test is smart." "Fine, I'll book something tomorrow," Monica said, her voice tight. "But I shouldn't have to prove I'm pregnant to my own family." She played the guilt card like a pro, and her mom backpedaled, apologizing, promising excitement for the grandkid. But after hanging up, Monica sat there, staring into the mirror for ages. I could almost see her brain scrambling, trying to figure out who knew enough to call her bluff. She never suspected it was me. The next morning, she booked an appointment with a new doctor. But she made one critical slip-up. Monica had used her real insurance for the doctor's visit, which meant there'd be official records of the appointment and its results. Records that could be pulled if it came to that. Records that would prove, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that she wasn't pregnant and never had been. Everything was lining up exactly as I'd planned. In 2 weeks, the truth would hit the stage in the most public way possible. But first, I had to make sure all the right players were in the room to see it. The wedding guest list had ballooned from 50 to nearly 300. Monica was over the moon about it, seeing it as proof of her social clout. "This is gonna be the event of the year," she said, flipping through the names on her laptop in our living room in Wichita, Kansas. "All the big names will be there." She had no clue how right she was. Sprinkled among her influencer buddies and my work contacts were a few people she wouldn't spot until it was too late. I'd reached out to 3 investigative reporters through my business network, all hungry for a scoop on social media scams and financial cons. 2 documentary filmmakers who thrived on live exposés. Even a rep from the Kansas Attorney General's office who dealt with consumer fraud cases. "I'm so glad you pushed for a bigger list," Monica went on, her eyes gleaming. "The photos alone will keep my followers hooked for months." "Speaking of that," I said, leaning back, "I booked a pro videography team. Multiple cameras, live stream setup, top-notch sound system." Her face lit up like a neon sign. "Seriously? That's incredible, Jake. We could stream the whole thing, make it interactive. People eat up fancy weddings." "Exactly my thought," I said, smiling. What she didn't know was that the pro setup included hidden cameras all over the venue, backup audio systems, and a control booth I'd have full access to during the ceremony. "Oh, and I invited some folks from your past," she said, all casual, like it was no big deal. "Old college pals, a few former coworkers. Thought it'd be nice to have everyone who matters there." "Anyone specific?" I asked, keeping my tone even. "Kelly Harper, for one," she said. "Your old friend." I tracked her down through some mutual contacts. We had our issues, but I figured I'd be the bigger person. Weddings are about fresh starts, right? Her smile was sharp, calculated. My stomach tightened, but I kept my cool. Kelly Harper, the one already helping me. Monica had made a bold move, inviting her to flaunt her victory, not realizing Kelly was part of my plan. It was a misstep, pure arrogance. "That's really thoughtful of you," I said. "I'm full of surprises," she replied, shutting her laptop and gliding to the mirror to fix her hair. "Speaking of, I've got a little something planned for the ceremony. It's gonna make it unforgettable." "What kind of something?" I asked, playing curious. "You'll see," she said with a sly grin. "Trust me, people will talk about this wedding for years." She was right, but not for the reasons she thought. That afternoon, I met the videography crew at Cedar Grove Hall in Wichita. The venue was better than I'd hoped, multiple entrances, great acoustics, and a layout that'd make it tough for anyone to slip out unnoticed once things got rolling. "You want cameras here, here, and here?" I told the lead tech, pointing out spots around the altar. "And make sure the main screen's visible from every seat." "That's a ton of coverage for a wedding," he said, raising an eyebrow. "It's a big day," I said. "For audio, I need high-quality speakers set up for perfect sound spread. And I'll need control access during the ceremony." He looked confused but nodded. "You're the one paying. We'll do whatever you want." The sound system took 2 days to install. When it was done, I tested it myself, running audio files to check clarity and volume. Every word would carry, even to the cheap seats. The night before the final rehearsal, my private investigator, Victor Hayes, called. "Found something juicy," he said. Your fiancé's been chatting with 3 different divorce lawyers over the past week. Divorce lawyers? I asked, leaning back in my chair. Yup, he said. Looks like she's already plotting her way out. Probably planning to claim irreconcilable differences or some sob story to cash in big. The irony was rich. While I was setting up to expose her, she was scheming to milk me dry. Anything else? I asked. She's also been meeting with a publicist, Victor said. A crisis management pro who handles scandals for social media stars. She's either bracing for trouble or planning to stir some up. I thanked him and hung up, staring out at the city lights from my home office. The rehearsal was tomorrow. The wedding was the day after. Everything was locked in, every angle covered. Monica thought she was marrying a gullible guy she could steer and eventually ditch for a payout. She had no idea she was walking into the biggest reality check of her life. But first, I had one more person to talk to. The rehearsal dinner was everything Monica wanted, fancy, pricey, and plastered all over her socials. She'd hired a separate photographer just for the pre-wedding stuff, making sure every moment was captured for her online empire. To Jake and Monica, my dad, Harold, said, raising his glass at the dinner in a swanky Wichita restaurant. May your marriage be everything you both have earned. His tone was warm, but I caught the subtle emphasis on earned. Dad was sharp, a man who'd built his business by reading people like books. He'd never said a word against Monica, but his careful silence told me everything. Thank you, Mr. Grant, Monica said, flashing a perfect smile. I promise to make your son the happiest man alive. Around the table, family and friends chimed in with cheers. Travis, my cousin, sat near the end, looking uneasy but playing along. Kelly Harper was seated at a table nearby, having accepted Monica's invitation with polite surprise. After the rehearsal dinner, while Monica worked the room with her photographer and a gaggle of adoring friends, I pulled Travis aside. Everything set for tomorrow? I asked under my breath. He nodded, tapping his jacket pocket. Got the USB with all the audio clips, medical records, financial docs, and the sealed envelope for her folks. Where are you sitting? I asked. 3rd row, middle, he said. Perfect view of the altar and the control booth. You sure about the timing, Jake? His voice was heavy, serious. You really want to go through with this? Once it kicks off, there's no turning back. I glanced across the room at Monica, posing with her bridesmaids, who she'd arranged like props by height and dress color to fit her brand's aesthetic. Everything she did was staged, calculated. She made her call months ago, I said. Tomorrow, she deals with the fallout. The night wrapped up with more toasts, more snapshots, more vows of forever bliss. Monica's parents, Gregory and Patricia, seemed genuinely thrilled about becoming grandparents. Her friends took turns giving heartfelt speeches about love and storybook endings, and if anyone questioned the rushed timeline or Monica's sudden shift to devoted fiancé, they kept it to themselves. Later, at home, Monica was quieter than usual as she wiped off her makeup. I can't believe it's happening tomorrow, she said, catching my eyes in the bathroom mirror. A year ago, I never pictured this life. Where'd you think you'd be? I asked. Probably still hustling to grow my brand, she said, her voice soft. Stressing about cash, wondering if I'd ever meet someone who truly got me. She turned to face me. You pulled me out of that, Jake. You know that? Out of what? I asked, leaning against the counter. Out of becoming someone I didn't want to be, she said. Someone ruthless, scheming, doing whatever it took to get ahead. Her laugh was faint, almost wistful. I was sliding that way, making dumb moves, but you changed everything. Her words were smooth, perfectly crafted to tug at the heart. If I didn't know the truth, I might have bought the act. Instead, I kissed her forehead and said, tomorrow's gonna be perfect. She drifted off to sleep, her hand resting on her stomach in that rehearsed pose. I stayed awake, running through every step of the plan one last time. By this time tomorrow, everything would shift. My phone pinged with a final text from the venue coordinator. All systems checked. Audio and visuals are good to go. See you tomorrow. I deleted it and shut my eyes. Monica was getting her dream wedding, but not the ending she expected. The next morning, sunlight poured into the bridal suite at Cedar Grove Hall in Wichita, Kansas, catching Monica in what she clearly thought was her best light. She'd been up since dawn, barking orders at her hair and makeup team like a drill sergeant. The light needs to hit from this side, she told the photographer, tilting her face just so. And make sure the ring's in every shot, it pops in natural light. Her bridesmaids buzzed around her like a flock of sparrows, each styled to compliment her without stealing the spotlight. She'd picked them carefully, pretty enough for good photos, but not enough to outshine her. "You look like a dream," her maid of honor cooed. "Pregnancy makes you glow." "I feel like I'm lit up from the inside," Monica said, her hand drifting to her stomach again. From the groom's suite across the hall, I could hear every word through the thin walls. My prep was simpler: shower, shave, suit up, wait. My groomsmen were chatting about football and jobs, clueless about what was coming. Only Travis seemed on edge, checking his phone every few minutes and avoiding my gaze. "Nervous, man?" my brother asked, fixing his tie. "Just ready to get this show on the road," I said. By 11 a.m., guests started rolling in. From my window, I saw flashy cars dropping off Monica's influencer crowd, all dressed to be tagged and noticed. My work colleagues showed up in quieter sedans, looking a bit confused by the spectacle but playing along. Kelly slipped in with a group of old college friends, her face carefully blank. She caught my eye through the glass and gave a subtle nod. Everything was in place. At 11:30, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Change of plans. I need to talk before the ceremony." I showed it to Travis, who frowned. "Think she's backing out?" "Nah," I said. "She's getting nervous." 5 minutes later, Monica appeared at my door, still in her robe but with full hair and makeup. Her bridesmaids lingered behind her, looking unsure. "We need to talk," she said, her voice tight. "Bad luck to see each other before the ceremony, isn't it?" I said, keeping it light. "This is bigger than some old superstition," she said, pushing into the room, forcing my groomsmen to step back. "Someone called my parents this morning. Another anonymous tip about my medical records." "What kind of tip?" I asked, playing dumb. "They told my dad to pull copies of all my recent medical files," she said, her laugh brittle. "He's actually thinking about it. Can you believe that? On our wedding day." "That's rough," I said. "It gets worse." They mentioned exact details about my doctor visits, dates, times, even what tests were supposedly done, Monica said, her eyes scanning my face for any hint of a reaction. "How would some random person know all that?" "Maybe it's not a random person," I said, keeping my voice calm. "Could be someone with access to that info. Someone keeping tabs on you." She froze, her expression tightening. "Keeping tabs how?" "No idea, Monica," I said, shrugging. "But if someone's trying to mess with our wedding, maybe we should hold off until we sort it out." "No way," she snapped, her voice sharp with a flicker of panic. "We can't delay. Everything's set. Everyone's here. We've already paid for the venue. Money's not a big deal if something's off," I said, testing her. "Nothing's off," she said, grabbing my hands with a grip that caught me off guard. "I'm carrying your baby, Jake. I love you, and we're getting married today. Don't let some hater ruin the best day of our lives." She was good, damn good. Even knowing what I knew, her mix of desperation and vulnerability almost felt real. But cracks were showing in her act, and desperation makes people careless. "You're right," I said, pulling her into a hug. "This is our day." She melted against me, and I could sense her mind racing, calculating risks, weighing her next move. She was pushing forward because canceling meant losing everything she'd schemed for. "I love you so much," she whispered. "Love you too," I said, feeling nothing but cold resolve. After she left, I sent a text to the venue coordinator, "Go ahead as planned. No changes." Then one to Travis, "She's spooked but doesn't know what's up. Be ready." The ceremony was set for noon at Cedar Grove Hall in Wichita, Kansas. At 11:55, I stood at the altar, scanning the crowd. The videography team had nailed the camera placements. The sound system was primed, humming softly. Kelly sat in the third row, her face composed but sharp. Monica's parents, Gregory and Patricia, were front and center, looking proud but a little tense. The reporters I'd invited blended into the sea of guests, unnoticed. Right at noon, the music kicked off. The bridesmaids glided down the aisle in perfect sync, each pausing just long enough for a subtle camera pose. Then the music shifted, and everyone stood. Monica appeared at the end of the aisle, glowing in a white satin gown with delicate beadwork. Her dad, Gregory walked beside her, grinning like he was handing his pregnant daughter to a solid future son-in-law. She looked stunning, joyful, the picture-perfect bride. She also looked like she was about to step into the biggest trap of her life. The processional was seamless. Monica seemed to drift down the aisle, her dress catching the light just right, her smile dazzling for the cameras. She'd planned every detail for maximum impact, the flower petals tossed by her little cousin, the way her veil flowed behind her, even her steps timed to the music. When she reached the altar, Gregory kissed her cheek and placed her hand in mine. "Take care of my girls," he whispered, meaning Monica and the grandchild he thought was on the way. "I will," I said, meaning it in a way he'd never guess. The officiant launched into the ceremony, talking about love, trust, and the sacred bond of marriage. Monica's eyes stayed locked on mine, her expression soft, adoring. She was delivering an Oscar-worthy performance. "Marriage thrives on honesty," the officiant said, "on trust between partners and the strength to face life's challenges as a team." The crowd murmured in agreement. Monica squeezed my hands, her smile growing brighter. We reached the vows. Monica had insisted on reciting hers from memory, no cards. "Jake," she started, her voice ringing clear through the sound system, "6 months ago, you changed my world. You showed me what true love is, patient, generous, unwavering. You embraced me, imperfections and all." She paused, her hand drifting to her stomach for effect. "When life threw us an unexpected gift, you didn't flinch. You welcomed our future with open arms. You're going to be an incredible husband and father." Tears sparkled in her eyes, real tears, I noted, impressed by how she'd worked herself into the moment. "I vow to love you, cherish you, and build the life we've dreamed of, together as a family, through every high and low." The crowd sighed, eating it up. Someone in the back dabbed their eyes. Phones were out, recording for social media. The cameras caught every angle. Perfect. Now it was my turn. I looked out at the faces, friends, family, colleagues, strangers who thought they were here for a love story. "Monica," I said, my voice steady, "when I met you, I thought I knew what I wanted in a partner. Someone real, straightforward, true," I said, my eyes locked on Monica's as she nodded, urging me to keep going. "These past few months, you've taught me a lot about what truth really means, how it's different from what people say, how you've got to dig past the surface to see who someone is." A few guests shifted in their seats, picking up on the edge in my voice. It wasn't the warm, fuzzy tone they expected for wedding vows. "You've shown me how far some folks will go to get what they want," I went on. "How they'll spin elaborate tales, keep up complicated lies, even twist the people who care about them most." Monica's smile wavered, her hands tightening around mine. "That's why," I said, turning to face the crowd, "I need to lay something out for everyone here before we go any further." "Jake, what are you doing?" Monica whispered, her voice sharp with panic. I nodded to Travis, who'd slipped over to the sound system controls as planned. The screens around Cedar Grove Hall in Wichita, Kansas, flickered to life. "Folks, thanks for being here," I said, my voice carrying over the speakers. "You came to celebrate what you thought was a marriage built on love and the promise of a new family." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Monica's parents, Gregory and Patricia, leaned forward, their faces shifting from joy to confusion. "But this whole thing," I continued, "was built on a lie." "Stop it," Monica hissed, but her microphone caught the word and broadcast it to the room. "The pregnancy that sparked this quick engagement, the surprise blessing Monica announced 6 months ago, it's not real. It never was." The first audio clip played, Monica's voice ringing out, unmistakable, from her chat with Kelly, positive or negative, he won't know the difference. Gasps spread through the guests. Monica's face drained of color, her bouquet shaking in her hands. "These are Monica's own words," I said as the audio kept rolling, her voice outlining her plan to make him ready for marriage with an insurance policy. The screens flashed with Dr. Ellis's medical report, no HCG levels, no signs of pregnancy, no physical evidence of conception. "Jake, please," Monica whispered, her mic amplifying her plea. "We can fix this. Don't do this." Gregory and Patricia stood up in the front row, their expressions cycling through shock, humiliation, and growing fury. Guests were already pulling out phones, filming the unraveling for their feeds. The final audio played, Monica, slurring from too much wine, calling me predictable but rich, laying out her plan to lock down a wealthy husband before her debts caught up. "She thought she was the one spinning the web," I said, staring straight at Monica as she wobbled on her feet. She didn't see she was the one caught. The officiant stepped forward, clearly out of his depth. "Maybe we should take a break," he said. "There's no ceremony," I said, my voice firm. "No marriage. No baby. Just a woman who thought she could build a future on lies." Monica crumpled into her gown, the pricey satin pooling around her like a popped balloon. Her bridesmaids rushed to help, but she shoved them away, her perfect image dissolving into raw, messy sobs. Gregory's voice cut through the chaos. "Get out," he barked. "You're no daughter of ours." I walked to the side exit, leaving Monica in the ruins of her own lies. Cool, steady, alone, just as I'd planned. Behind me, the noise of the fallout grew louder as the truth sank in for the guests. I didn't look back. The truth was out. By the time I got to my car, the videos were already spreading. 300 guests with smartphones had captured every second of Monica's public collapse, and social media was faster than lightning. My phone buzzed nonstop as I drove home, notifications from apps I hadn't used in ages, texts from old acquaintances, even interview requests from news outlets that somehow got my number within hours. I ignored them all, headed to my home office in Wichita, poured a glass of bourbon, and opened my laptop. The internet was on fire. Hashtag Monica Meltdown was trending on X, TikTok clips of the altar scene were blowing up, some remixed with dramatic music or snarky voiceovers. Instagram posts from the wedding guests captured Monica's collapse from every angle, each clip tagged, shared, and commented on thousands of times. But the real blow came from the influencer crowd, her so-called peers, the ones whose approval she lived for. They weren't rallying around her. They were bailing fast. At Style By Mia posted, "Always knew something was sketchy with her." At Fit With Jonah wrote, "This is why being real matters. Your followers can smell a lie." At Glow Up Kara added, "Not shocked, just disappointed." The desperation was obvious for months. Monica's own posts were drowning in comments, baby emojis mixed with snake emojis. Her follower count, which she'd obsessed over for years, was tanking by the thousands every hour. The business fallout hit next. Screenshots flooded the internet, showing brands cutting ties, partnerships dissolving, and sponsorships evaporating. The companies that had bankrolled her curated lifestyle were scrambling to save their own images. My phone rang, and Kelly Harper's name popped up. "Jake, holy crap," she said, skipping the small talk. "I can't believe you pulled it off. How's she holding up?" I asked. "Not great," Kelly said. "She's blowing up everyone's phones, trying to spin it. Says you tricked her, that the recordings are fake, that this is all some petty revenge plot. Anyone buying it?" I asked. "Nah," she said. "There's too much proof. Plus, people are coming out of the woodwork now. That guy she dated before you? He's doing interviews, saying she tried to ruin him when he dumped her." Outside my window in Wichita, Kansas, I saw news vans starting to line the street. Somehow, my address had leaked. "Kelly, one thing," I said. "Are you still thinking about that book deal you mentioned?" She paused. "I've been mulling it over. Publishers are calling, but I wanted to check with you first." "Write it," I said. "Tell the whole story, everything, including your role in helping me. People need to see that choices have consequences, even for those who think they're untouchable." After we hung up, I spent the afternoon tracking the fallout. The story had traction, blending social media drama, relationship betrayal, and the kind of public takedown people couldn't resist. News outlets were eating it up, tossing in commentary about influencer culture and fake personas. Professors were chiming in, analyzing social media manipulation and parasocial connections. The wedding had turned into a real-time case study. As night fell, the crowd outside my house grew, reporters, photographers, nosy neighbors, and a few gawkers just there for the show. I pulled the blinds and poured another bourbon. Tomorrow, I'd face the media frenzy, the legal questions, the work fallout. But tonight, I just wanted to sit in the quiet and let it sink in. My phone pinged with a voicemail from an unknown number. I almost skipped it, but curiosity got me. "Jake, it's me," Monica's voice said, raw and broken. "You probably won't hear this, but I had to try. I'm sorry. For everything, the pregnancy, the lies, the manipulation. You were right about me." A pause, her breathing shaky. "I know you'll never forgive me, and I don't deserve it. But some of it was real. How you made me feel safe, valued, that wasn't fake. I just didn't know how to be worthy of it without scheming. Another pause. I'm leaving town tomorrow. My parents won't talk to me. My friends ghosted me. My career's done. Guess this is what I get for thinking I could build a life on lies. The voicemail cut off. I sat in the dark, turning her words over. Even now, she was trying to rewrite the story, painting herself as the tragic victim instead of the one who built the trap. But there was something else in her voice, real defeat, maybe even a hint of regret. For a second, I almost felt bad for her. Almost. Then I remembered her laughing with Kelly about how easy it was to fool nice guys who see the best in people. I remembered her plotting which lies would hit hardest, which tears would sell best. Some people learn from their screw-ups. Others just get slicker at making them. Monica chose her path months ago when she decided to base our relationship on deception. Everything that followed was just a natural outcome. I finished my bourbon and went to bed. Tomorrow would bring new headaches, but tonight, justice felt calm. 3 weeks later, I sat in my new office in Spokane, Washington, watching rain streak the windows. The move had been in the works for months, a clean break in a new city, far from the media storm that had taken over my life since the wedding. The story still had legs, spawning documentaries, opinion pieces, and endless online debates. Monica had become a walking warning about the pitfalls of influencer culture, a lesson in what happens when a fake persona crashes into reality. I'd given just 3 interviews, one to a business magazine about safeguarding assets in relationships, one to a legal journal about prenups, and one to a filmmaker digging into social media scams. In each, I kept it cool, factual, and detached. The story painted me as either a master planner or a ruthless schemer, depending on who was spinning it. I didn't care much either way. The truth was straightforward. I was a guy who found out his fiancée was playing him and made sure she faced the consequences. My phone buzzed with a text from Kelly. Book deal's done. The Perfect Con, Inside an Influencer's Lies hits shelves next spring. Thanks for your help. She'd grilled me for hours for the book, diving into the psychology, the planning, the moral questions of public exposure versus private confrontation. It'd be raw, honest, and probably stir up some noise. I was okay with that. Truth should spark debate when it shakes up what people think about trust, love, and the cost of lies. Another text came through, this time from Travis. Monica tried reaching out yesterday, asking how to get in touch with you. No surprise there. Over the past 3 weeks, she'd tried every channel, mutual friends, social media, even a lawyer claiming she wanted to make things right. I ignored them all. What could she say now? That she was sorry? That she'd learned her lesson? That she deserved another shot? Some lies cut too deep for second chances. Some betrayals show who a person really is, and no amount of apologies can rebuild what's broken. I texted Travis back, delete it. Don't respond. That evening, I did something I'd avoided for weeks. I checked Monica's social media. Her Instagram was still up, but it was a different beast. Gone were the glamorous lifestyle shots, the staged photos, the look at my perfect life posts. Now it was long captions about learning from screw-ups, the dangers of chasing likes, and the value of being real. Her follower count had settled at about 1/10 of what it used to be. Comments were split. Some folks offered sympathy, rooting for a comeback, while others mocked her, calling it just another act. I couldn't tell who was right, and honestly, I didn't care. One last thing needed doing. I opened my laptop in my Spokane, Washington, office and started typing a statement. Over the past month, I've been asked countless times to comment on the events surrounding my canceled wedding to Monica Tate. I've mostly let the facts speak for themselves, but I owe one final word. What happened at Cedar Grove Hall wasn't about cruelty or payback. It was about believing truth should win over lies. When someone builds a relationship on fake pregnancies, false financial claims, and hidden motives, they don't get to hide behind privacy. Some have asked if I could have handled it quietly, confronted her behind closed doors. Sure, I could have, but that would have let Monica move on to her next target, armed with better ways to cover her tracks. Public consequences deliver justice for those hurt and a warning to others. They show that manipulation has a price, that lies don't last forever, and that people who treat others like pawns will eventually answer for it. I don't regret shining a light on the truth. My only regret is that it had to happen at all. This is my last statement on the matter. I posted it to my professional accounts, then deactivated them. The media circus would keep churning without me. People could argue about the ethics of my move, the rights and wrongs of public exposure, the bigger questions of truth versus privacy in the digital world. Let them talk. I had work to do. My new company in Spokane was doing well. Clients liked my knack for catching details, spotting red flags in financial reports, seeing through polished facades to the reality underneath. Skills that had made me good at my job were now serving me even better in life. Outside, the rain kept falling, rinsing the streets clean. In a few hours, the sun would break through, making the city look fresh and new. I poured a bourbon and pulled up the financial statements I needed to review. Numbers don't play games. They don't lie, manipulate, or pretend to be something they're not. They're honest in a way people often struggle to be. My phone buzzed one last time, a notification that someone had tagged me in a post. Probably more chatter about the wedding or another journalist fishing for a fresh angle. I deleted it without looking and got back to work. Some stories end with redemption. Others end with exposure. Mine ended with closure, the quiet relief of a guy who'd been lied to, uncovered the truth, and made sure it was heard. In a world full of curated cons and calculated games, that felt like enough of a win. The rain kept falling outside, washing everything clean.